making sure that would assume student loan debt from all previous generations and subprime mortgages because she realizes that people who live in fear of debt are unable to spend rationally on their wants in the market. And if they're deterred from that, how's that going to help us with our GDP other than paying off loans and fearing for not being able to pay for the necessities of life? So she understands the impact of what government can do for the benefit of not only each person's microeconomic level, but the macroeconomic level as a whole. Thank you all very much.
Peter McGrath, speak.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm at Romney's policy. First of all, good evening, everyone. I would like to preface my introduction by thanking you all for coming, and also stating that I'm more than willing to share my sources and research with anyone or discuss further after this, if anyone is interested in. The United States has the largest economy in the world, and that's the reason that we have a relatively high quality of life, that we're able to provide things like Social Security, unemployment, and welfare when it's needed. It's the reason we're able to give financial aid to other nations during times of disaster. It's the reason that we're able to fund the strongest military in the world. But unfortunately, we no longer have the strongest economy in the world. Using the most recent data available from the International Monetary Fund, the Senate Budget Committee found that U.S. federal government debt per capita is $45,000. Okay, federal government debt per person, $45,000. That's 15% higher than the per capita debt burden of Greece. And we all know how Greece is doing, right? In addition, according to The Economist, the public debt per capita, which is what all we owe on our mortgages, cars, etc., is $35,921 per capita compared to $36,923 for Greece. We currently have an unrevised unemployment rate at 7.8%, and according to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis's economic database, we still have 4 million fewer non-farm payroll jobs than we did before the president took office. 4 million fewer jobs than we did 4 years ago. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there were 802,000 discouraged workers in September that had given up looking for work, in addition to 2.5 million who are available for and want work, but had not applied for a job in the last 4 weeks, and therefore are not included in the unemployment rate of 7.8%. The Bureau of Labor Statistics also reports a labor force participation rate of 63.6%, down from 67.7% when the president took office. That means the number of people even participating in the labor force trying to get a job has continued to go down, even though population has increased. Unfortunately, I could continue to rattle off discouraging statistics that illustrate why it's imperative that we improve the economic situation. If we want to continue having a high standard of living, providing the Social Security and welfare to people that need it, and all the other good things that our government is able to do, then we have to change the way we are doing business and strengthen our economy once again. Lest we find ourselves in a situation where we can no longer provide any of these good things for anyone. It is for these reasons that I beseech you all to consider the economic situation and the policies of both candidates when making your decision to cast your vote this November. Governor Mitt Romney graduated from Harvard University with dual MBA and law degrees in 1975. After working as a business consultant for several years, Governor Romney launched Bain Capital in 1984. That company helped launch or improve over 100 companies, including household names such as Staples and Sports Authority. During a time of financial turmoil at Bain Capital, Romney's old investment firm, he was asked to return as CEO, where he led a successful recovery for that firm. Governor Romney became governor of Massachusetts in 2002. Working with a state legislature vastly dominated by Democrats, Romney, working with that Congress, eliminated a $3 billion deficit without borrowing or raising taxes. By the end of his term, the state had accumulated a $2 billion rainy day fund, and the unemployment rate in Massachusetts dropped from 5.6 to 4.7%. According to the Washington Times, Governor Romney has given 13.5% of his adjusted gross income to charities over the past 20 years, compared to just 7%, just under 7% for the president, in addition to the taxes he pays, the amounts of millions of dollars. Unlike the president, Governor Romney's #1 priority is to fix the economy and create jobs for Americans. He has a simple plan to help Americans, not by increasing government spending on welfare or increasing the duration of unemployment benefits, but by instead creating jobs so that people can go to work and take care of themselves and their families. Unlike President Obama, Governor Romney's record proves his ability to work in a bipartisan manner, and that he will be able to push Congress towards real compromise, passing actual budgets, and moving towards fiscal policy that will repair and strengthen our nation, as opposed to the gridlock Congress that the President has presided over for the last 4 years, that has continued to just kick the can down the road, as it were, passing budget stability acts and, basically creating the fiscal cliff that we're facing on December 31st if the Congress isn't able to come together and pass a real budget and cut all the spending. Thank you.
Ronnie will be talking about the Libertarian Party.
Adam Smith, the classical economist, came up with one general assumption dealing with government and the economy. The only thing government is good with is adjudication, national defense, and collecting taxes. But government is not good at providing measures to produce consumer confidence in the market. And so therefore, a libertarian principle is making sure that the consumer and the American citizen has his full ability to purchase all rational wants in the market without government getting in the way, without government getting in the way of businesses trying to succeed in the American economy. So therefore, the way to reduce this unemployment caused by big government is for cutting the deficit and lowering the debt through an exorbitant decrease in the spending of Medicare and Medicaid by 43% in the first year, balancing the budget during the end of fiscal year 2013, and cutting welfare by 43%, with a dollar-for-dollar tax credit to each person who is able to philanthropically give back to charitable agencies, because it is truly the person's want to help out the different charities and the poor, and they should not be subject to helping out those in need. It is a personal choice. It is not a will of society. That is a true principle that the libertarians admire, individual self-interest in the economy. With these cuts, it grants consumers more money in the market, less government intervention, because it gives consumers the ability to choose to buy health care in relation to Medicare and Medicaid, not only to buy it in general, but what kind of quality they want. It is, as I've said multiple times, the individual choice in that matter if they want to buy health care or not. They should not be forced to help somebody pay for health care or to have health care in the marketplace at all, going for businesses as well. Because the government's sole priority is to make sure that a person is living up to their best ability in the market and as an American citizen. And with that, thank you very much.
All right, our first question for the advocates of each candidate is, how will their candidate best deal with unemployment? Unemployment is probably one of the biggest things that we're dealing with right now. So hopefully we can hear a little more about specifics with regards to how they can deal with that.
The unemployment rate is unreasonably high. The Obama campaign and the Democratic Party believes this. This is why, in 2013, in a study done by the EPA, the Economic Policy Institute, the Obama Jobs Plan will create 1.1 million jobs in 2013 by providing temporary spending and long-term budget cuts to
such investment at local levels of a $700 billion decrease in wasteful military spending, mostly in foreign aid, because she believes that there should be no intervention in the world when it comes to America's policy, and that money should be invested into the American economy to provide income and job opportunities for Americans. As for numbers, dealing with the third party, no one really doesn't have an interest for them, so they don't really like to research the different economic policies behind them. So this is based on the idea of the Great Depression and the ability of government to increase consumption through giving jobs to people in order to have income, in order to increase that aggregate demand and investment in the economy. So the way to reduce unemployment is to make sure that government spends in the temporary and provides employment opportunities for consumers so that they're able to consume in the market and increase GDP and therefore have that external force on progressing the economy towards expansion. Thank you very much.
Before I tell you what Mitt Romney's plan is, I'd like to just touch a little bit on the idea of what Obama thinks is going to make the economy grow. It seems that he wants to keep spending to create more jobs, right? But I mean, over the past 4 years, he spent more money than any other president in history, and it hasn't done it. So he just wants to keep doing more of it. It kind of like an analogy I use sometimes. You want to keep on pressing the doorbell to the house until the garage door opens up. And you can't just keep doing something that doesn't work, especially when you're talking
Okay,
about
for
borrowing money.
instance, plans
Excuse me.
take time to be implemented. People say, there have been many studies that say that this weak economy that we're currently in is all President Bush's fault. And this is a Republican's problem, like the plan that Romney is putting forward. So we can either go backwards, or we can hope that Obama's plan is going to start and kick in and help prosper the American economy.
Okay, so if we're using that logic, then we can attribute all the prosperity during Clinton's time to the first Bush, who preceded him. Okay. Anyway,
Wasn't he only a 4-term president? Bush was not 4-term, 4-year president, 1-term president. So Bush is 8 years
Okay.
in the presidency. Would create a problem.
Bush is gone, you guys, so please let's get on with something with Bush.
And if I could please speak about Romney's plan. She's talking about going forward, we're talking about the last president. Anyway, what Romney wants to do, and his first idea is just you can't argue against it. It's just there's no legitimate argument. He's going to unleash the domestic energy potential of our country. There are businesses that have been waiting for years to get the permits, to get the allowances, to get the rights to grow, to build a pipeline from Canada down to the Gulf of Mexico. Tens of thousands of jobs will be created almost instantly if they would just let them do it. There are companies that want to expand, want to grow, want to hire people, and President Obama and his Congress has continued to say that you can't do it. I mean, he's denying the American people absolute job growth. Romney's going to get rid of that, and he's going to let these companies hire the people they want to hire and create these jobs. The next thing he wants to do is remove political headwinds, such as poor expectations and congressional gridlock. Not many businesses feel comfortable investing more money into what they're doing and in the country that they're operating in if the government can't even pass the budget. That's kind of like looking at maybe some less developed countries like Brazil, which are actually experiencing good growth domestically. But do you want to put your money into the market of Brazil when you're not really sure? You got people running around the Amazon with AK-47s, not too sure about the stability of the government. Well, with American debt being downgraded and our government unable to pass a budget, for the first time in any time I can possibly remember, American soldiers didn't get paid on time because the budget couldn't get passed. Are you kidding? All right? By removing those headwinds, those bad expectations, this horrible uncertainty, businesses are going to be more likely to invest, more likely to grow. The same thing applies to the energy market, which President Obama has skewed horribly against conventional means of power production and energy production. He put $90 billion worth of subsidies into green energy companies, which And this is evident because businesses are holding such vast amounts of cash. And businesses don't like holding cash. Cash doesn't make you any money back. Yet they're unwilling to spend because of this uncertainty. He wants to maintain or improve consumption by keeping taxes down. You know, an increase in the tax rate, and the tax rate for anybody is the basis of what we call a contractionary fiscal policy. If you take taxes away from people, their disposable income goes down, and they're going to spend less money. It's that simple. And he wants to invest in education, just as Obama does. I think they agree on this. He wants to prepare people for 21st century jobs. And as productivity goes up, that's actually another thing that we're facing with unemployment problems, is that one person is becoming more productive with technology, so less people are needed to produce the same amount. But that's for another topic. And you know, Barack Obama, he wants to raise taxes. It's just gonna cut consumption. So it's not a good idea. And that is what I have about that. Thank you.
Listen to these other three parties talking about their special interests. all of their government activities to help induce economic growth. Let me tell you, everybody, the only way to induce economic growth is if you give money to the consumers. Consumers in business know what is best for their personal benefit. Businesses are so tired of these onerous regulations on healthcare, providing safety in the workplace beyond exorbitant means. I'm so sick of these all these crazy talks about these, well, you know, he said this, he said that. Get rid of this government debate and bring it back to the personal level, to the citizens level. Let them make the decision. Let them induce growth in the economy. Cut all this wasteful spending of both of these parties, for God's sakes. Reduce taxes, reduce these entitlements, give individual decision the power to induce economic growth. I rest my case.
Ronnie Paul, everyone. I'm afraid we have to sort of cut ourselves short because we're running out of time, but we want to leave at least a few audience questions with regards to the economy. So let's lay it out there. Yes, sir.
I have a question for Peter. So a lot of the facts that were first cited in the beginning, the statistics, they're very discouraging, as you said, to the Obama platform. But there's a correlation between the two. How do you say that there's a causation of Obama's specific actions for that? It's a split. It's a split party right now. The executive branch, Democrat, Congress, Republican right now, or specifically the House. How can you specifically attribute all of those statistics to Obama's doing when it's been two parties out there?
That is a very good question. And if I implied that I was trying to attribute that specifically to Barack Obama, that's not the case. You know, I'm not going to argue, and Mitt Romney's not going to argue that Obama did not receive a bad economy, an economy in bad shape. But he also said that he was going to fix it. What you mentioned about the Congress is, you're right, it's split. And I do attribute some of that to Barack Obama's kind of shoving an unpopular and completely partisan bill through in his first 2 years, actually, instead of taking care of the economy first. And I think that kind of polarized the Congress a little worse. And it is difficult to get things done when the Congress will work together, but in my opinion, I think it's the job of a president to be able to get Congress to work together. So I think if the president can't get his Congress to work together, he's probably not the best head of state. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I have a question from the support. What specifically will you do to create jobs? Because as you know, as I assume you know that in Massachusetts, job creation is 47, that's government. What will you specifically do to create jobs in America?
What will you specifically do to create jobs in America? Okay. Well, unleashing the domestic energy production. That's going to instantly create jobs. I don't think anyone could argue against it.
Is that a source where you can cite it? Just something on his campaign, or something you believe?
The source that I can cite that he's going to...
Yeah, just specifically create job creation. Because I'm sure it says he doesn't create that amount of job creation that he's claiming to be.
But you agree that it's going to create jobs?
Yes, not the substantial amount that he says.
Okay, thank you.
Jobs.
Obama didn't get the unemployment rate where he said it was going to be, so...
Pardon me? I knew what you said.
Whether or not it creates the jobs he says it's going to create, create. Pretty much every campaign ever overshoots what they're going to be able to do, including the Obama campaign. But we're in agreement that it's going to create jobs. And, you know, I would almost promise you that the mere election of Mitt Romney is going to get businesses to hire more people. Because businesses are afraid that their taxes are going to go up. Obamacare is discouraging them from hiring new workers because it increases their costs. And if you just listen to Obama talk, you can tell that he does not support businesses, especially large businesses.
We have a small business tax cuts like over 18 times. You know that, right?
Yeah, okay. Get small business tax cuts. Yeah. He's also about to allow the alternative minimum tax to expire, which is going, or excuse me, not the alternative minimum tax, what's called the exemption on the alternative minimum tax, which, without boring you with accounting, it means that about 30 million more Americans are going to be subjected to a higher tax rate. They're going to go from about, well, I'm not going to try to quote the rates, I don't know to the point, but 30 million Americans are going to be subjected to a higher tax rate because he wants to, you know, go after the rich. You know, he's talking about people paying their fair share, so he wants rich people to pay more money to give to everybody else, and that's, I mean, that's not creating growth. But what Mitt Romney wants to do is increase trade, keep the taxes low, give businesses the incentives that they need to grow. They don't even need incentives. All they need is the disincentives removed, and Mitt Romney's going to do that as best he can working with the Congress.
Do you have a question or a comment?
Well, yes. What do you mean by unleashing the energy sector? Because let's face it, the Cushing extension of the Keystone Pipeline has been approved, is already under construction. We have shale gas production in North Dakota, which has led unemployment to, I think, less than 1.9% in that sector. And let's face it, there are about 3 offshore drilling facilities approved by the Obama administration, which had much disdain from the EPA, different environmental groups. So what's basically allowed, oh yeah, by the way, North Carolina is also approving, I think, shale gas plant as well. So we're basically tapped all the oil places in the United States, the regions that have oil or any type of gas as we speak. So how is it that, in hopes of finding more, that the jobs are going to go up? There isn't anymore.
In hopes of finding more?
Yeah,
Are
you
you
said,
telling
you said that it's going to be a boondoggle.
Are you telling me that the pipeline from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico has been approved?
That's an international pipeline. We're not getting any profit from that.
Are you kidding?
No.
So no Americans are going to go build that physical structure that's going
How
right
many?
through
How many?
America?
Is that really going to help out with the unemployment rate?
Thousands. Where's the
5,000.
where's
Don't
the
make it such an impeccable number.
okay? Where's
All right. Sorry.
Partisanship be darned. We are going to do better than what we've seen on TV.
Yeah.
We are going to be better than that. And so we're going to try to be
Yes.
respectful and civil. And so
I'm sorry.
the question that we ought to ask is, are these short-term versus long-term jobs? That is probably a problematic thing that we need to investigate. So what is Romney's long-term recovery plan, not short-term with regards to the pipeline? Well, it's not just Ronnie, but we all need to sort of keep in mind that this disagreement is at heart to what is so wonderful about this country. We can respect each other's differences and still be okay with each other. That is important. If we get to a point where we can not agree and yet we can't even get along, we are no better than communists. So, it's true. Communists. Come on. Jesus told me so. So I would like to hear Peter sort of explain a little bit about what Romney can do for long-term unemployment.
Okay, well, for long-term unemployment, I mean, pretty much nothing that Romney's planning on doing is a simple short-term fix. Increasing government spending in the short term, that's a short-term fix. Keeping taxes down and creating jobs is a long-term fix. So if you're looking at what's going to be a short-term fix and what's going to be a long-term fix, Obama's plan to just keep spending money that the country doesn't have, that is the definition of short-term, because it simply just can't continue to happen. Taking energy, for example. If we increase domestic production, which I promise you is not tapped to its full potential, said, what, 3 rigs over a 4-year period? That,
They tried one summer.
Oh, one summer, but over the whole. There's plenty of companies that want to increase production of domestic energy, and not only is it creating jobs here, but it's like the tens of billions of dollars that we send over to Saudi Arabia and other countries that are producing oil would come back to the United States, which Obama says he's supportive of, even though he has maintained a tax on businesses that operate overseas, trying to put money back into the American economy. But
What is that tax?
okay, that's basically the United States has. Well, and this is actually good because Obama has spin this around to say that Romney wants to give tax cuts to businesses that ship jobs overseas, which is not true. What it is
Obama does not want to give tax cuts to people who have jobs shipped overseas. That's not factual.
I didn't say that. I said Obama is saying that Mitt Romney wants to give tax cuts to companies that ship jobs overseas.
I think we can both agree that neither party wants that. So,
I think he's just saying.
Because Obama's saying that Romney wants it. So yeah, we both agree that Romney's lying about it, that Obama's
Romney
lying
wants
about
more
it.
businesses to do that. It's the main capital ad. Libertarian.
Can I give the explanation of the tax? All right, it's called a worldwide tax system. Basically, American companies that operate overseas have to pay the tax that country charges them. Most of the time, that tax rate is lower than what Americans tax because we're one of the very, very few developed nations dumb enough to still have a corporate tax rate over 30%. Very few. So that means if those companies, let's say it's International Paper, which I used to work for right here in Newton, well, it has plants over in Europe as well. Actually, there are about 24 different countries. So if International Paper has capital that they made in Europe, and they pay, let's say, a 20% tax rate to that foreign country, if they want to send some of that money back to the United States to build a new factory in the United States, they have to pay the difference between the 20% foreign rate and the 30+% American rate. So that means if they want to send money back into the United States to invest in the United States, they have to pay an extra tax on it, even though they've already paid one. That is a pure disincentive to send money or to send capital back into the United States for companies that are already overseas. And Obama's turned that around to say that Romney wants to give a tax break. He just wants to eliminate that extra tax because there are hardly any developed countries left in the world that maintain that worldwide tax system. Most of them,